I hate videos. Now, you may be wondering, if I hate videos, what the heck am I doing here? Woohoo! Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm sure those that are watching me live can see that I am not on my regular location. I'm actually away in a different city in Canada, but um, I still want to make sure that I go live with you and with my amazing guest because I know the conversation is going to be absolute fire. So if you and I have not met yet, my name is Inge van Roy, and I am recognized as a community connection catalyst. So you may be wondering what that means. Well, I help people connect with their ideal community so that they can make more friends and earn more money. So if you need help with that, please reach out and let's have a conversation. Maybe I can help you do that. If you didn't know, this show is streaming live, yes, on LinkedIn and YouTube. And we are also live on Africa Online Radio. That is our main platform. So if you haven't checked us out on Africa, you should definitely do that because if you don't, you're missing out on all the awesome music that I get to play. So if you're watching live and would like to check this show out on Africa Online Radio, you can go to the website that's scrolling on your screen right now. It is africa.co.za. And if you're tuned in and would like to send me a message, you can do so via our studio line, which is +27769144524. I am super excited to bring on my amazing guest. So why don't we just jump right in and welcome Isabel Draughon to the stream.
Hello,
Hello,
hello, hello.
Isabel.
Can you hear me?
Welcome. Yes, I can hear you
Thank
loud
you.
and clear. Thank you
Thank
for being
you.
here, spending some time with us. You look amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to your space. I'm excited about being here with you today.
I'm excited to have you here. So, Isabel, won't you please introduce yourself? Let everyone know who you are and what do you do?
Oh, I love that. That's the question I always ask people to define who they are as a coach. I always want them to answer in a different way. Who am I? I'm first of all a child of God, and I am a coach. I love to swim. I love to cook. I have a family of 3 kids and a husband. And my job, my purpose here on earth, I feel, is to help women move through their consciousness into a higher state, right? So they can connect with themselves. My career, which is not who I am, but what I do is I am a life coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I say I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own 2 businesses. My husband and I own a construction business that we call Visex Design Studios, and we've had that. We've been in that space for over 2 decades, and I'm also a life coach. I own a business where I empower women to use their voices. And the name of my coaching business and my speaking business is called Loud Whisper. And I named it Loud Whisper because I felt like women are always screaming for help on the inside, but no one hears them because it comes out as a whisper. So my goal in life is to be able to impact as many women as I can for them to use their voice, because I believe your voice is the truth of who you are. It is the GPS that guides your intention with your livelihood. So I'm all spread out. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love the name of your business, Loud
Thank you.
Whisper.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Loud Whisper.
Yeah.
And it was part of the answer that I had asked you a question,
Yeah.
so that we could land on the theme for today's episode. And I
Hmm.
remember what you said. Um, so I'd asked you, what is that one thing that has helped you overcome adversity? And I know that I'm flipping the script here. I want I would like you to just explain to everyone so that they can
Hmm.
understand also the origin of the name of your business. Can you tell us what is that one thing that has helped
Hmm.
you overcome adversity?
Oh, wow. That's powerful. And it is really one thing. And if I can be very honest and vulnerable, I didn't understand that one thing until maybe 5, 6 years ago, the older that I got. It's truly the grace of God. The grace of God is what carries me through all my challenges and my trials. I always say that I've been through so many life experiences and I understand pain. And for those that know me, know that I've been through so many different life experiences from the time I was a child, just like many people. But for me personally, myself, it was until about 5 to 6 years ago when I really was digging deeper into myself of who I am. Why am I here? Why did God create me to be here? So when I started understanding the magnitude of God's grace and how it's carried me through all these years for me to be able to sit in this chair and have this conversation with you. So it is truly God's grace.
Amen. Wow. Thank you. Um,
I'm
I would like to say, actually, if anybody
going
is
to talk about
watching
Loud Whisper.
live,
Go ahead.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, I want to talk about Loud Whisper, but before we go into that, if anyone is watching us live, please drop us a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from.
Mm,
Um, and what is your take on the power of prayer? Um,
mm,
I would like to share, actually, before we go into that, I want to say hello to Cecilia as well as Suleiman and Wendy and Auntie Trudy as well. Thank you to you for tuning in and sending me messages on WhatsApp. I appreciate you. And I want to highlight some quotes that I found. Um, the first one is by D.L. Moody.
mhm,
He was an evangelist many, many years ago.
mhm,
And he said the following. He says, every great movement of God can be traced to a kneeling figure.
mm. That's prayer.
Amen.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
Yes. And there's another quote that I found, and it says, um, it's actually not attributed to anyone specific, but it says the following. Never underestimate the power of one small prayer. God hears the heart, not the words.
mhm,
Wow, wow,
mhm. It's
wow.
powerful.
And yeah. And I received a message from Cecilia. She sent us this message. This current stage of my life requires me to pray more, work harder, and say less. And this was
Mm,
posted by Soul Whispers.
mm.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Mm. So, yes, if you are
Mm,
watching or listening live, please feel free to send us a message and share your thoughts on the topic as we go through this. But yeah, drop us a comment if you're watching live, or even if you're catching the replay on YouTube. Know that we appreciate you. Before we jump into the conversation, Isabel, let
yes.
us go and say hello to two people that we see are sending us messages on LinkedIn. I want to say
Okay.
hello to Catherine Lang.
Catherine.
Yes, she's joining us from Alabama in the
Nice.
US. And she
Hey,
says,
Catherine.
your voice matters and is needed in the world.
Mhm. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And she also says, when you know God, you can learn God's design for you in His purpose. When you get hold of that and root it deep down in your knower, nothing
Mhm.
will stop you. Beautiful.
Powerful.
Yes. Then we have Aliana. She's tuned in from Arkansas and she says, hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday.
Hey.
And Catherine is just answering. She says, the fervent prayers of a righteous man availeth much. In other words, your prayer, when you are aligned with God, will. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you,
beautiful.
Catherine.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Catherine.
Mm. So, Isabel,
Yes.
won't you walk us through your career journey? Where did you
Mhm.
start from, and how did you get to where you are today?
Whew, that's powerful. So I have um let me talk to you about Loud Whisper, the career journey of Loud Whisper. As I mentioned earlier, I own two businesses, a construction business and of course Loud Whisper. I have been in business for 2 decades, as I mentioned. I want to talk to you a little bit about Loud Whisper and why this means a lot to me and how this journey came about. I grew up amongst I'm originally from, by the way, I live here in Chicago, Illinois, but I'm originally from Tanzania, East Africa, Tanzania and Zambia. My mom is Zambian, my dad is Tanzanian, so full bred African. And I grew up amongst very courageous, powerful, resilient women. These women did everything that they could to take care of their families, did everything that they could to make sure there was food on the table. Even the women that I saw with the baskets on their head selling tomatoes, in my little eyes as a little girl, they were entrepreneurs. They just didn't own a Rockefeller building. But as we all know, you become a product of your environment. So as time went by, and I fast forward, as time went by, I was a little girl and I moved through my own life. I moved to the United States at the age of 19. And when I got here, I found myself in a real peculiar situation. I was about to become a mother who needed her own mother 8,000 miles away. So the career for Loud Whisper happened, really took off. It's something that was in my spirit. God had shown me years ago, but I didn't understand exactly what it is. But it really took off and I really got into it when it was part of, excuse me, my own story. So as I was going through life, I found myself in a peculiar situation that I needed to get out of. But what was interesting is I had my child at a very young age. I found myself being strong, resilient, and courageous, just like the women that I saw growing up. But through my journey, through the trials and the tribulations, I got an awakening. And that awakening was I found myself many a nights gazing up in the ceiling, asking myself, is there more to life than what I'm experiencing? You know, from the outside looking in, I'm an entrepreneur. And my husband got married, entrepreneur, have children. From the outside looking in, everything seemed perfect. But I spent many days and nights gazing in the ceiling, asking myself, is there more to life than what I'm experiencing? Each day I woke up, my heart felt heavy. And God gave me the realization. It took me back to the women that I saw growing up back in Africa. Very strong, very courageous, very powerful, but like myself, didn't have a voice. They didn't have a voice. And I found myself not having a voice. I found myself living the same life that I witnessed, although it was a powerful and courageous life that I watched the women at home, from
Mm.
being entrepreneurs, professional, as I mentioned, the women who work at the market. They all had the drive. They were women in their own right? In the God created right. I
Mm.
started to reflect on all those women and I saw myself in them,
Mm.
whether it was in their abusive relationship, whether it was not having a voice, whether it was just surviving through life every day, waking up and just going and doing, not knowing myself. And
Mm.
the deeper I started thinking about this, as I'm looking myself in the mirror, I remember waking up one day. I looked at myself in the mirror and asked myself, what did I like as a little kid? I couldn't remember. And
Mm.
that's when it really sparked because I was living a life of survival, like many
Mm.
of the women that I knew growing up. And as I started to reflect and really dig deep, I
Mm.
started to realize that even the women that I saw growing up at home,
Mhm.
we, we didn't know who they were. We knew them by that's somebody's mom, aunt. Some of them we rarely knew them by their names. All we knew about these women is what they
Mm.
did.
Mm.
And I had the privilege of traveling the world because my father was a diplomat. So I've lived in so many different countries. I've traveled the world and I've met women from all walks of life.
Mhm.
And what I realized was the common experience of women constantly neglecting themselves,
Mm. Mhm.
constantly living a life of survival.
Mm.
And but what ultimately I noticed that was really prevalent with probably 98% of the women that I got in contact with, they didn't have a voice. And what I mean by they didn't have a voice, they couldn't speak up for themselves. They were not living their truth because of the condition. They have been taught that you were born to serve, been
Mm.
conditioned that they were born to serve. They didn't
Mhm.
know who they were. So that's why even when you ask me the question, who am I? That's a question that I ask all the women that I meet. Who are you?
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
And um, so as I was going through my own journey, I started realizing, like, gosh, I'm living a life of survival.
Mm.
And God showed me that I was never created to survive, I was created to thrive. And the reason why it was something that I had to change is because I noticed, when you live a life through of survival, you have to suppress your emotions. You're suppressing your voice. And this was the life that I watched all these women live. A lot of women that I knew died of heartache. And
Mm.
people don't understand that if you suppress your voice and don't speak for yourself, and you're not true to who you are, all that suppression, all it does, it moves into your body. And if you don't
Mm.
learn how to speak for yourself, your body will speak for you. So when I put all those things together, I started experiencing the same things that I watched all the women back home to go through.
Mm. Mm.
But I was blessed enough to watch these women because I tell you what, without me watching these women and being around the women that I grew up around back home in Africa, I don't think I'd have been able to survive. Yes, they didn't have a voice, but they had that power within them. They
Mm.
had the drive, the tenacity, and the strength within them.
Mm,
And that's when I started to realize, and God is showing me that we need to use our voices. And the reason why women are not using their voices is because it's coming out as a loud whisper. No one is
mm,
hearing them. No one could hear me when I was in pain. No
mm,
one could hear me when I had my son at a really young age. But you know what everybody did? Everybody called me strong because I showed up as that, because I learned that. It was learned behavior that I'm grateful for. But deep down inside, I was breaking. I was
mm,
screaming for so much help, but no one
mm,
could hear me because I didn't have the courage, the audacity, or even the
mm,
might to say, this hurts. I need help. I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going
mm,
because I didn't have a voice. I was never taught to use my voice. I watched
mm,
women, powerful women, who didn't even have the courage to use their voice.
mm. Wow.
And I always say this really quick. What really propelled it was I started to discover the underlining problem that a lot of us women experience, including myself. First, of course,
Mm,
doing what I do. I'm a firm believer, especially being a leader in what I do. In order to lead other people, you have to be able to lead yourself. So this is a journey that I had to start uncovering and unpacking for myself. And as I'm moving through life and just watching and diving deep and just realizing that there's so much that women have to unpack, there's a few things that I've come to realize. From the time we're little girls, a lot of us have been conditioned to believe that we were born to serve.
mm,
We've been conditioned to believe that the only way to receive love or validation is through serving others, is through
mm,
neglecting our own needs to serve
mhm,
other people.
mm,
I don't know about you, some of us grew up in some societies where when you're born as a woman, they're looking as to who you're going to marry from the time you're born. What
mm,
family are you going to be in? Who you're going to marry? So essentially, we're being denied our own human rights. We're being
mm,
denied to get to know our identity because society measures the strength of a man by how much weight they can carry, but they measure
mhm.
the strength of a woman by how much pain she can endure. And
Wow.
going through this cycle of women living in pain, of women not knowing who they are,
Mm,
because we have been taught again that our job on this earth is to serve. Now, get me
mm,
wrong. Don't get me wrong. God created us as nurturers. We bring life into this world. Whether you have
yeah.
children or not, you nurture someone somewhere. It's the same thing. But what I want to teach women is, and that's what I learned from the time when I was 19, pregnant, 8,000 miles away from home, not in my best situation, is that yes, I'm strong, but there's a God given strength that we need to tap in.
Mm,
And not the strength that society tells us, right? Because
yes.
I was trapped into that too. I'm going to tell you
Yes.
why. Because that strength that society tells us, oh, you're a strong woman, you're a strong woman, which I don't subscribe to, is because it leaves us broken. That strength, that expectation is not attainable. We
Mm,
can't keep up with it. It changes all the time. And it requires women to provide a certain kind of strength that it doesn't even work with who we were created to be as human beings. And that's why you find a lot of us women, we're in this perpetual state of constantly moving and going and discovering and trying to know who we are. And we're constantly living outside of ourselves because we're trying to meet society's expectations of what society says we need to be as women.
mm,
But
mm,
what I want to do is empower women to really tap into themselves, to the God given strength. It's humble,
mm,
it has courage, and it has resilience. But this is a different kind of strength But in order to obtain that strength, you have to dig in and start unpacking. And that's what I had to do in order to be here and for this to be my career. I went
mm,
through my own healing journey. I tell people all the time that I teach from my life experiences, and everything else that I gain are additional tools. And so, yes, that's how Loud Whisper came about. It's because I grew up, including myself, watching so many
mm,
women not have a voice. And I'll explain something to you.
mm,
If you don't use your voice, you're essentially denying your existence.
mm, mm. Wow.
So it's really important for people to use their voices, especially women, because we've been conditioned to not be seen or heard. Yeah, but that's
Mm,
not true.
mhm,
That's not how we were not born or brought into this earth to not be seen or heard. How can we be nurturers of everyone in the world, but we cannot be seen or heard? It doesn't even make sense. Does that? It doesn't even make sense, right? And that's why you find like a lot of women are so unhappy. You find
mm,
women. My clientele are very high professional, high achieving professional women like myself, right? You find women who are so successful, but then they're unhappy because they're getting
mm.
their validation again from performance.
Yeah.
Because we've been conditioned from the time we were little. Perform, perform, perform. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
you find a lot of women are not happy with their lives. They're not fulfilled at all.
Cheers.
So my job, and really I call it, is my calling. And I pray that God sends me the right people. I pray that I'm able to go out into the world, especially to where I come from, right? And empower as many women as I can to use their voice,
Mm, mm-hmm.
to use their voice. You can't be in this world without using your voice. You
Mm,
cannot live a fulfilled life without
mm,
using your voice.
mm-hmm.
It's the truth of who you are. It is your GPS. It is the guide. It sets your intention.
Mm.
And that's how Loud
Use your
Whisper
voice.
came
Mm.
about. Mhm.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. I want to just go to the comments quickly and read a few of them. Let me see.
Okay.
So, Aliana says she's actually tuned in from Mississippi today. Oh my gosh.
Oh, hi.
I remember being a child and learning to spell that.
Mississippi.
S-I double S-I double S-I double
Yeah.
P. Oh my goodness. Then Catherine, she says, I like to define an entrepreneur as someone who defines and walks their unique journey, sometimes working under another company and sometimes building their own.
Mm,
Mm, interesting.
yeah.
And then Catherine says, when we live through it, we don't always recognize how powerful our story of just surviving is for others.
Yeah. That's really powerful that you say that. If I can really chime into
Mm-hmm.
that. And even with my talks when I'm having conversation with women, you have to tell your story, and you don't have to be like me and tell the world your story. You don't have to stand on stage and tell people your story. The reason why it's important to tell your story, especially in this age, number one, it's important for your own healing, right?
Mm,
It's important for you to recognize what is going on in your life, because we can't have any self development without self awareness. And self awareness comes with being honest with where you're at, who you are, and that is your story. And another thing about, if you have the courage to tell your story amongst other people, if you wish to, it's not necessarily just the courage. If you wish to, you don't have to tell the whole world your story. What it does for me, the reason why I freely tell my story is I want to give other women permission to tell their story, because one thing I realized that the most powerful way human beings we can help one another transform is by telling our stories. Because when somebody hears my story, hears my trials, my tribulations, my challenges, the fact that I've been through so many life experiences, I understand pain, I've been through, physical abuse, emotional abuse, I've been through that journey. For me, for the longest time, I was ashamed of myself. I used to say my name was Isabel, I'm ashamed Draughon, because I was ashamed of what happened to me.
Mm.
And I
Wow.
never told my story. I did not use my voice. But it's until when I started healing, it's when I started gaining power and understanding, as I know you all have heard this before. It's not
Mm.
what happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happened for a reason. I
Mm.
didn't do it to me. As a little
Yeah.
girl, I'm not the one who abused myself. I'm not the one who neglected myself. I'm not the
Mm.
one who abandoned myself.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So a lot of us are ashamed to tell our stories. But if I can empower anyone that's listening on this stage today, like I said, you don't have to tell your story on stage like I do. This is my calling.
Mm.
Share your story, get
Mm.
it out of you so you can start healing.
Mm.
Unpack it so you can create space for you to discover who God really created you to be. So, a lot of us, we get lost in it, especially with my clientele. I was the same way. You're achieving, you have success, you're making all this money, and you think like, great. And let's be honest, you end up being like an Isabel, where from the outside looking in, everything seems great, but you're laying in bed at night asking yourself, like, good gracious, is there more to life than this? So I just want to empower your listeners. Tell your
Mm.
story.
Mm.
It will allow you to heal. It
Mm.
will allow you to acknowledge yourself. And really,
Mm.
you're opening up space and you're opening up your heart for anew. A lot of us don't tell our stories because we grew up in cultures that tell us to. You can't tell anybody anything. You're going to embarrass the family. You cannot tell anybody anything
Mm.
because the family, the perpetrators in the family. You can tell anybody anything because you didn't graduate, or you can tell anybody anything, just whatever it is.
Mm.
Right? But what we fail to realize is that's how we're showing up in all aspects of our lives, whether we like it or not.
Mm.
If you live a shameful life, that's how you're showing up in all aspects of your life, from your profession to your relationships with your spouses or whoever, and with your children
Mm.
or your family. So it's important, and that's why earlier in the beginning I said I really want women to move, work through their trauma, so they can move to a higher state of consciousness, because the power that we have within us, it changes the world. But
Mm.
it's so stuck. It's stuck in the shame. It's stuck in the embarrassment. It's stuck in not knowing who we are. It's
Mm.
time for us to use our voices, to unlearn. It's really not about learning. It's
Mm.
about unlearning all the things that we were taught of
Mm.
who we are, why we're here,
Yeah.
and discovering ourselves. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. Yes. You're so right.
Look at the ceiling. You were
I'm
like,
just no, I'm just thinking about so last year
mm,
in during the summertime, around this time actually, I attended a course and it was very intense. It
mhm,
was called Wise Up.
mm,
And that course was about really examining your belief system
yes. Mm,
and deciding what you wanted to move forward with,
Mm-hmm.
discarding beliefs that no longer serve you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and moving forward with either new ones or some old ones that
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
actually serve your purpose, they serve
Yeah.
you as a person.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, whew, it was intense because I found myself really examining my
Mm.
experience as a woman,
There you go. Yeah.
as a girl,
Yes.
and looking at everything and, confronting my fears, because there are
Yep.
many times where we choose not to do something because of the fear that wells up inside you, that makes you want to just run away. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really because of that innate thing within us where we want to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But now we're grown, we should be able to face it.
Oh, I
Um,
like that. I like that you say that. Just a few things I want to add on to that. And most of,
yes.
and here, this is the thing, right? Most of the fear is coming because we do not feel worthy.
Mm,
Okay. Most of our fear is coming, just like you say, the course that you took. It's extremely crucial. And this goes to any human being, right? We are conditioned to believe that you're someone else. As a woman,
mm,
you're living your life on other people's expectations and opinions on who you
mhm,
should be. A lot of
mm,
us don't know who we are. And what I mean by that is going back to what you just said about the course that you took and why it was extremely powerful. We don't know what we believe. We don't know our values. We don't know what we like. We don't know
mm,
what sparks us. We don't know what gives us joy. We know what makes us sad and we stay in it. We know
mm,
what makes us unhappy and
mm,
fulfilled and we stay in it. But we never take
mhm,
the time to discover the other side of who we are. Who were you created to be?
mm,
We never take the time to discover that. And you know what that does to us? We live a life of self betrayal.
mm,
Because what happens is, imagine this. You will, if you don't know your values, if
mm,
you don't know your
mm,
beliefs,
mhm,
if you don't know what makes your heart smiles, if you don't know what gives you joy, what brings fulfillment into your life, you're going to say yes to everything in life.
yeah.
And when you do that, you're living a life of self betrayal. And what I mean by self betrayal is when you're constantly showing up and giving of yourself, even when
Mm,
you know deep down inside that's not what you want to do.
mm, mm,
I find that I lived that. I see it in a lot of my clients. I see it in a lot of women. It's just living a life of self betrayal, constantly sacrificing your needs, your wants, and your desires to please everyone else. And when
mm,
I and we don't have boundaries, right? We don't have
mhm,
any boundaries. So anytime you don't have boundaries, you are constantly betraying yourself. Then we'll sit and have conversations with other people. We get frustrated, we get resentful, and then we start complaining about our life. And we start to point fingers.
mm,
Newsflash, newsflash. You can't point
mm,
fingers at anyone else but yourself,
mm, mhm,
right? And that's why it's important for us to start learning to have healthy boundaries. Boundaries teach you how to love yourself, and in turn, they'll teach other people how to love you. Boundaries is not
yeah.
about pushing people away. It's about you discovering yourself. But you cannot create healthy boundaries for yourself if you don't know your beliefs, if you don't know your values, if you don't know what matters to you, if you don't know what lights up your fire. Ultimately, you don't know who you are to the core of your being. Not what you do. I'm not talking about your career. I am talking about who you are.
Mm.
So we live it the same way. It's a constant act of self-betrayal, and that's where most of the unfulfillment comes in. Self-betrayal of not using your voice and speaking your truth when you need to.
Mm.
What do they say? You have to use your voice until, even if it shakes. Self-betrayal of you not understanding, what do you desire? What do you want in life that will fulfill you? When I began on my own journey, let me tell you something. As all women, I love my family to death. And people used to say, girl, everything is about your family, and it always been. But I was operating from a survival standpoint.
Mm.
I loved them really deep, but I was exhausted. It's
Mm.
when I, it's when until I started working on myself and healing the traumas within myself and understanding, who am I? Why am I here? What is
Mm.
my purpose on this earth? When I started owning all those challenges and the experiences that I went through that for years left me under a cocoon because I was so ashamed of who I was because of what happened to me.
Mm.
It was until when I looked myself in the mirror and I said, something had to change. And I looked myself in the mirror and I asked myself, what did you like as a little girl? And Inga, for the life of me, I could not remember. And the
Mm.
only reason why was because, like many women out there, I was living a life of survival. And when
Mm.
you live a life of survival, you suppress your emotions. When you suppress your emotions, you don't feel. And then when you don't feel, you live on autopilot. You just
Mm.
go and go and go and go and go.
Mm.
And that's why it's vital, it's crucial to understand, like you said, that course was powerful. It was powerful for those reasons because it made
Mhm.
you look at yourself and
Yeah,
start
definitely.
discovering yourself so you can know who you are.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
She said, yes, ma'am.
Let's go back to the comments quickly.
Let's go back to the
Um,
comments.
yeah, Catherine says, dying of heartache. Wow, that's a powerful statement.
Mhm. I've watched women die of
Very,
heartache. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle just popped in to say hello and love from
Hi,
Denmark.
Michelle.
Nice to
Wow, all
have
the way
you.
from Denmark.
Yeah. And we have Aliana says, girl, right now, I'm in reflection mode on that same question. Who
Go,
am
Eliana.
I in my
Mhm.
personal life?
Yes. Yes. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Catherine is answering her. She says, not knowing you makes it almost impossible to have bold confidence in your next step. Without you, what now becomes a struggle.
Mm, yeah. I like that. Without you, what now becomes a struggle?
Yeah, because she says, you see, Catherine, she has learned not to question why something is
Yes.
happening to her,
Mm-mm.
but rather to ask, okay, this has happened. What
Mhm.
now?
Yeah.
What now?
That's powerful. So I'm going to start asking to the what now. What I normally do is, okay, this is happening. What is this here to teach me?
Mm,
Yeah. So I like the what now.
mm,
I like
that's
that too.
beautiful.
Yeah, what is this here to teach me? Is what I ask myself. Yeah.
Mm. And then she said, Catherine also says, I've lost me a few times, and it's tough finding the traction, even for survival, when that's missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's Catherine's commenting on what I said, how I learned to spell Mississippi. And
You can't help
the
it.
is you
Hmm.
can't have self-development without self-awareness.
That is
Yeah.
correct, Catherine. You can quote me on that. She said,
Totally
"Yep, I'm
using that in
using
the
this in a
post.
post." Yes,
Yeah.
girlfriend. That's the community
Yeah.
of women. Share it with the women in your community. Yes, there's no
She
self
says,
development without self awareness.
she says, I write about it, but I change the names to protect the author.
Oh.
Yeah. And Aliana says the following. She says, thank you, superhero, for your words. I have had to put on my CEO hat for my own personal world, and now I must do what I do best, and that's create something new and powerful for
Mm,
myself.
yeah,
My hardest journey yet, but blessed.
yeah. Inga, if I can just with what Ileana is saying really quick,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a this is not an illusion. This is the truth. And the truth is this: you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. Iana
Mm.
Vazant says it's not selfish to take care of yourself, it's self full. She says you fill your tank up first, and whatever runs over is for everyone else. This is
Mm.
truly a fact. The reason why, as women, we stay in a perpetual state of disempowerment, burnout, exhaustion, and fulfillment, we're so good at doing everything outside of ourselves.
Mm.
Everything outside of ourselves. We
Yeah.
perfect how to do everything outside of ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
the truth is, you want to know yourself enough. You want to know who you are and get grounded within yourself. So no matter what life, well, no matter what life brings your way or how the wind blows, you are still grounded to the core of who you are. Then that allows you to make better decisions. That allows you to become aware when things are not right. Most of us are just living our life because we were told this is who you are, this is who you should be, this is how you show up, and this is how you act. This life, we only have one life to live, just one. But you get to choose. Every day when we wake up, every day, each and every one of us, God grants us a gift. And that is the willpower, the power to choose who you want to be, how you want to show up, right? What matters to every day. I tell people every day is a new day. Every day you're granted the power, the willpower to start all over again if you need to. But we've gotten so lost in the definition of what society says we should be. A lot of us are living this life outside of ourselves. We're trying to perfect a human being who does not exist. This human being that you're trying to
Mm.
perfect is a human being that everyone else around you told you from the time you were born that you're supposed to be. And that's why
Mm.
you're exhausted. That's why
Yeah.
you're unfulfilled. That's why you're tired because this human being does not exist. So you keep going and changing and editing and editing and editing. The problem is we don't know who we are. So we spend our time editing who God created us to be.
Mm. Mm.
So find time. It's not an easy journey. Not everybody's going to do it. I, in the beginning, didn't want to do it because you know why? You have to excavate. You have to dig deep. You have to become aware of yourself. Whether it's your mistakes or something happened to you, you have to dig deep and also look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself, because sometimes we're in situations that we're in because those are the decisions that we made. But one thing I'll tell you that I notice about a lot of women, most of the decisions that we're making in our lives are not based on our core beliefs, values of who God created us to be. Most of those decisions are based on what we think people would want us to say, do, or be. We are afraid to trust ourselves because when we when we trust ourselves and tap into our core and really listen to that loud whisper, where for me, I say that's where God speaks the loudest to me. For some people, it's their intuition. Most of us women are afraid to exercise that, because when we do that, it's going to be a totally different human being. And we're afraid that the people that we love will not recognize her and they will leave her.
Mm-hmm. They will not love her for who she
They
is.
will not love her for who she is. So
Mm-hmm.
now we stay in this perpetual state of people loving an idea of what the world thinks you are. Let me tell you something, sister. You have the power to discover
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how successful you are. You saw Robin Williams. He used to make us laugh and he took his own life. Rest in peace.
Mm.
Money will never bring you happiness. Money will
Mm-mm.
not bring you joy. So you can have all the money, all the success, but the fulfillment will not come until you heal within yourself.
Mm.
But it takes work. You have to be willing to go through what you've been through.
Mm.
You have to be willing to surrender.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Beautiful. Wow.
Hmm.
Isabel,
Yes, ma'am.
we've been talking for almost an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's almost 3:30 on my side. So
Yeah. Thank
um,
you.
I sent you a message on WhatsApp. Let's
Okay.
go through the comments. Check the message and let me know.
Okay. Excuse me, guys.
Catherine also said, if you don't know for you,
The
then you
world
give
will define it
the
for
world the
you.
power to define it for you. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
All
And
right.
she
I
said,
responded to you.
okay. And she said, in every emergency situation, the rescuer must care for self before he can care for
For
others.
others.
Um, okay, awesome. And then Catherine also said, they don't know, they don't know what you should be because you are unique in all the world. And there's
Mhm.
never been another you that
Mhm.
they could use as the template.
That's true. Hmm.
Wow. And Liana just loves this conversation. And Catherine is also saying fulfillment will not come until you heal within.
Yes,
Wow.
ma'am. Hmm.
Wow. 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 Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Um, you know, I can listen to you speak all day, but it's we're getting to the top of our hour and I want to be
Yes,
cognizant
ma'am.
of your time.
Thank you.
So everyone, Isabel has agreed. I've asked her for us to do a part two.
For
So
sure.
please stick around and we'll do that because we need to get to the other questions. But this was amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing. Isabel, let's see. Aliana says, boy, and make sure when it's your turn to find yourself some Kleenex. LOL,
A
love
lot
you
of Kleenex.
guys.
A lot of Kleenex, Mariana, a
Yeah,
lot.
a lot.
But that's
Yes, a lot
cleansing,
of
right?
tissues will be needed.
Yeah, that's cleansing. You
Yes,
cleanse your spirit. You got to cleanse your
yes.
body. When it rains, God, look at nature,
Mm,
right? God cleanses. There's a season to everything. The leaves fall. All
mhm,
that is cleansing. The problem is we're afraid to let
mm,
go. Let go. Create space for the anew.
yes.
Create space for new.
Beautiful. So, Isabel,
Yes,
where
ma'am.
can people find you if they would like to connect with you? And
Oh,
also, what are your
mhm.
final thoughts for
Ooh,
us today?
okay. Thank you, first of all, for having me on. It's such a pleasure. Anything for you. And this is it. This is my jam. I like to talk about this. This has been my prayer to be able to really get into women's spaces and let them know about using their voices. You guys can find me on LinkedIn under Isabel Draughon. I'm on Instagram, Isabel Draughon, Facebook. Um, on Isabel Draughon, and I also have a YouTube channel. I also have a podcast. It's a Loud Whisper podcast. It's a health and wellness podcast. We talk about all these things. I'm a firm believer that we're in a space right now where we've turned into human doers. And I feel that people are suffering. It's because we need to come back to who we were created to be. So we talk about all that, being a human being, life experiences. So make sure you subscribe. It's on all channels. My last thought, a few things. First of all, if you're watching this, know that you were here for a reason. You're born for a reason. There's a purpose. And like Kathleen had said, there's no one like you. There will never be anyone like you. And for you to understand that despite what you've been through in life, there's a you deep down inside that you can unpack to create a different life for yourself. Stop betraying yourself. Honor yourself.
Mm,
Trust yourself. Even when you're unsure, trust that still voice inside of you. It will never steer you wrong. But most importantly, you are enough
mm,
just as you are. I promise you,
mm,
you are. And if you don't feel that way, maybe you need to change the environment that you're in because you are worthy to be loved, cherished, seen, and heard. But you are enough. Always remember that.
mm.
Me.
Wow. Thank you, Isabel, for coming and
Um,
sharing this beautiful wisdom with us. You are enough.
you are enough. Yes.
Know this. You are enough. Thank you, Isabel, and thank you for your time. And
You're
I'm
welcome.
looking forward to part two of this conversation.
Let me know. Yes, I am too. I am too. Thank you so much for creating the space and for having me on your show. Thank you for what you're doing and highlighting women, for us to be able to see women all over the world, for us to be able to connect with one another. As I shared earlier on, I'm a firm believer that transformation comes from hearing other people's stories. And what you're doing is
Mm,
so powerful because you're changing people's lives. People may not respond on your show and say, "Oh my God, that was an amazing show." But I'm going to tell you something. I've been doing this for a while now. There's someone somewhere right now as we speak. You've made a difference in their life because you made the choice to have this show. So I want to honor you and thank you for creating the space for us women to be able to collectively come together, heal, band together, collaborate, and grow. So thank you, Inga.
mm. Thank you, Isabel. Wow. Um, that's my prayer. every day when I do a show, at
Hmm.
least just one person to be touched. So
Yeah.
I know that that is what's happening, and it's just such a beautiful experience knowing that. Because
Yeah.
this is episode 54,
There
which
you
means that 54 times I've been able to touch someone's life,
go. There
at
you
least one person.
go. Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
if you don't mind, I'm gonna wrap up the show, but thank you very much, Isabel, and we're gonna see you next time for another episode for part two
Okay.
of this conversation. Be blessed.
Excited. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're still watching, I want to say thank you to you for being here and spending this time with us. Aliana says, thank you, superpowers activated. So, thank you, Isabel, for coming and sharing your wisdom with us. It's been an absolute pleasure to be in conversation with you. I'm sure that whoever is watching has been blessed by what was shared here with us today. So, check out the next episode. I'll be posting about it, and you'll be able to come in and listen again with Isabel and I as we unpack more about this specific topic. So make sure that you come ready, like Aliana said, with some Kleenex, with your tissues. Until next time, everyone, I want to say thank you for your time and be blessed. Make it an amazing rest of your day. And we'll be live again next week for another episode of Wonder Women Wednesday, where we get to highlight ordinary women making an extraordinary difference in the hopes that we can help you to overcome the adversity that you'll face. So take care, be blessed, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.